Yeah, so hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Sean here from personalweedvaporizers.com. Got an interesting one for you here today. It's the new H2FLO by FLYTLAB. I've had it here a couple weeks. Pretty cool little pocket vape. It's got a ceramic heating chamber, and it's got some pretty cool attachments. Let's actually get right to it. I'm going to go through a brief unboxing with you, and then we'll fill up a chamber, come back up, take a vape on it, and I'll leave you some of my final impressions. But let's just get right into it. I'll go through the unboxing and we'll come back up in a second. Alright, so I just kind of put it loosely back together. I've been using this, as I mentioned, a couple weeks already, but I just wanted to show you what you get in the box. First thing I noticed, which is pretty interesting, are the suggested herbs to use with it. Gotta be honest, I've been using this thing completely wrong. I haven't used any of these herbs. I've used it strictly with my medical grade marijuana, but not quite sure anyhow how you'd expect to get lifted if you're using those herbs. But yeah, as far as using my weed, it seems to be working very, very well. So no problems there. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with concentrates, so it's just for your ground dry herb. Nice little owner's manual. It's pretty straightforward. There's only 3 temperature settings anyway, so it's pretty easy to use. You got some additional info, on the attachments, which are also pretty straightforward. This is, for example, the air attachment. It's actually in 2 pieces. And what this does is it'll actually trap the vapor. You can actually trap pretty much a full bowl's worth of vapor in this thing. And then once you've inhaled it all into the upper chamber, hit the button and you can just sort of inhale it in one shot, which adds something a little bit different. Obviously you're taking it in one shot instead of over a long, slow draw. Primarily though, how I've been using it is this way. It's what they call the on-the-go mode, and yeah, I generally am on the go, so I'm usually using it in pretty standard mode. There's your heating chamber. It's completely ceramic, and I mean, if you were filling it completely, you could probably stuff up to 1 gram in there. I'm not filling it up usually when I use it. I'm putting it probably anywhere from a 0.2 to 0.3, which is just around, halfway, a little bit below, maybe halfway from the top. And then you screw back on your top and you're ready to go. But they also include, which is one of the few I know that include right in the box, a water bubbler. Personally, I'm not really a fan, I never have been, of water filtration. I never really did use a bong or anything like that. Water bubblers, they're not really my thing. But it is kind of cool. I've used it. It works quite well. It does kind of cool down the vapor a little bit, and obviously, like any water filtration, it kind of sweetens it slightly too. And then, as you can see, they include a few other little goodies here. The basics, obviously your charger, you got the wall adapter here, USB cable here, and then they include a nice little stirring tool, a cleaning brush, and then an extra mouthpiece. Pretty restricted draw mouthpiece, that one. I haven't really been using it myself. And then an extra top piece for your bubbler, as well as every size of O-rings and several replacements of each. So really everything you're going to need in the box. They do include a lot of attention to detail even in the packaging. I like that. The vape works great. As far as the attachments, like I say, they're not it's not a big deal to me, but the vaporizer itself does work quite well. So what I'm going to do is put aside these extras and the box and just get down to the unit itself. I'll show you that a little bit closer, and then I will get some herb, fill it up, and we'll take a bit of a vape on it. And what I'll do is I'll show you, I'll vape on the different attachments and give you an idea of what you can expect. And then, yeah, I'll leave you some impressions, and I'll put some links here at the bottom. Just give me a second. I'm going to grab some weed, and I'll be right back. We'll take a vape. Alright, so I got some weed here, and I noticed that in between takes I still had a full chamber here, so I'm actually going to show you guys the remnants of that last chamber just so you can see. It is completely vaped. I don't stir this at all. It vapes quite thoroughly, and the highest I'm going, as I mentioned earlier, is usually about the medium setting. So that's about how much I'm putting in. I got some fresh ground herb here, and I'm just going to load it up, and what I do is I just loosely fill it to the top of the chamber and then I grab a packing tool and just kind of pack it in. And by the time I'm done packing it, you can see it's, well, in this case it's a little bit more than halfway because my herb is a little bit drier than normal, so when I ground it up it's a little bit finer than I normally grind it. But then you just pop back the top, and then you turn the unit on. There's only one button on here anyway, so 3 times push the button, and then you'll see it'll cycle through blue, yellow, and green, which represent low, medium, and high, and you just push the button when you've reached the temperature setting that you want. In this case I've chosen the low, and that is where I start my sessions, at the low setting. And generally from there, it has a 3-minute automatic shut-off timer, so I use the low setting for usually the full 3 minutes, and then when it shuts itself off I turn it back on and I go up to the medium setting, and from there it's usually only a minute, maybe minute and a half, and then I'm done. It's vaped the bowl pretty thoroughly, and I've never really had need. I have tried it at the highest temperature, but it's a little too hot for me. The medium temperature is already getting a little bit warmer than what I really enjoy, but I do end the sessions there. I find the best quality, the best actual temperature for me vapor-wise is the lowest setting, but that's using it in the on-the-go mode. If you do add the other attachments, it does cool the vapor quite a bit, so you can actually, vape it probably at the hottest temperature quite comfortably, but on its own, just on the standard on-the-go mode, I find it a little bit too hot. Kind of like my vapor a little bit cooler, and because I am on the go most of the time, I'm generally not carrying around the attachment. So, but even on my ascent, I started off quite low, usually 360, 365. There we go. We're ready to vape. So let's just give me a chance to readjust the camera, and we'll start vaping on it, and I'll show you some of the vapor production. Okay, so I got it up to temperature here. It's probably been about 30 seconds since I just did all that readjusting, and so it's had time to acclimate a little bit. Let's start it off. Nice flavor, and it's right now, the first few draws are generally where you get the most flavor for me. The vapor is still a little bit wispy in terms of appearance, but you really do get the most effect and the most vapor at the lowest temperature, or in this case, the lowest temperature. The one thing I don't really necessarily like about this is they don't tell you what the actual preset temperatures are. I'm guessing just by the feel of the vapor that the low temperature is probably around 375, 380. And generally speaking, that would probably be the second or third temperature I would generally get to within a session. I usually start at around 360, 365 and slowly work up. 380 is usually by the time I'm halfway through a session. In this case, it's where it's starting, but it is very nice, clean vapor. The ceramic chamber doesn't really leave any byproduct flavor from the machine itself. Yeah, it's just a nice flavor at that lower temperature. What I'm going to do is just show you quickly some of these attachments. Here is the water bubbler. So the water bubbler does cool it down. Here we're already at a cool, relatively cool vapor. But yeah, the water bubbler does cool it down quite a bit. It adds actually quite a little bit of a sweetness to the vapor. So there's that, and then you have the air chamber, which also does kind of cool it down a little bit, adds something a little bit different, and I'm going to show you this quickly. And you see, okay, so now it did shut itself off. So what I'm actually going to do now is turn it back on and let it cycle to the next temperature, which is the yellow. And let it heat up there. But with the air chamber, what you'll see is it'll actually fill up, this thing will fill up with vapor, and then once I push the button I can basically inhale it in one shot. But the oven's still not cool. I actually prefer that the air chamber to the water. I've just never really been a fan of water, like I say, bongs or anything like that when I was smoking, or water bubblers on vapes. But the cooling effect of the air chamber, actually, I do kind of like, because it's still, I don't know, the water kind of does something to the vapor. I find it, but this kind of has that dry feeling of smoke or vapor that I kind of prefer. But cooler, which is nice, especially at this temperature. This temperature in the on-the-go mode, which is how I use it 90% of the time, because most of the time I'm not home, is it's already a little hot. And there you can see the battery. I just had a flash, so we're kind of coming to the end of the battery. So I'm going to shut it off for now, in fact. You're getting a little flash here. So, I mean, that gives you an idea for the vapor. It is, I mean, it's not my favorite vape, and the main reason is the vapor in the on-the-go method or mode is a little bit on the warm side for me. Even at the lowest temperature, it's a good flavor. It's nice vapor. It's pretty clean, but that's the lowest setting. It's already a little bit too high for my personal taste. So it's, I mean, it's a fun vape. It's got a kind of a unique fun factor. The add-ons and stuff make it fun if you're with friends or at parties, but you know, as a everyday vape, it wouldn't necessarily be my top pick. But if you are someone that actually prefers a hotter vape, then yeah, it might be something that could be for you. It does have the ceramic heating chamber. I'm happy to see a lot of them do now. That does add quite a bit of overall value to the vape. It really does give a much more even roast to the herb, and generally when I'm using any kind of vape that uses ceramic, I generally don't have a need to stir them, so it's a good vape, especially when you're on the go, so you don't have to stop and stir. Overall, I'd say it's a very good vape. I mean, it really does work. It's not my favorite vape just because I do like it cooler, and I do like to have more control during a session in terms of starting off lower and slowly working my way up, because I do like to get the most, the maximum benefit I can from my herb. So I do like to have a little bit more control, but I would say it's a great vape. Someone on the go, someone that just wants something easy to use, pop in your pocket and go. As far as the attachments, you know, they add something to it. It's nice that they include them, because most vapes, if you want a bubbler, you do have to buy it separate, so that's a good thing. I will put some links. I would say, you know, overall, good job, folks at FLYTLAB. I mean, like I say, it works. It's just a little bit hotter than what I prefer. But I'll put some links. If you think it's for you, you can definitely check it out. And I'll have some numbers in terms of ranks and all that on the site within a couple days. So I'll have a link to that too. You can check that out. And yeah, in the interim, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.